Hello, my loves. So recently I've been working with a mentee. She is a recent college grad. Great time to graduate. Excellent. Life is going well. So I've been mentoring her because I graduated right after the financial crisis. So I have a lot of like perspective, empathy, and like lessons learned that I feel like when I'm mentoring her, I'm actually like talking to a younger version of myself. And it's been wonderful for me too, because I'm laid off and I'm job searching, and sometimes that can feel really devaluing. And so working with her has made me feel like I'm getting value and significance from our relationship. So most of the things that I've been helping her with are like resume and interview skills and contracting versus full-time employment, like all those stuff that I had to learn. But what was interesting about our conversation today is that I shared with her my job search story currently during the pandemic. And even though I'm like 10 years older than her and going through kind of like a different version of things, she found it really helpful to hear my story and perspective because it normalized what she's going through. And just like she had a lot of the same like thoughts, fears, concerns, emotional freaking roller coaster that job searching has been the last couple of months. And she just found it so helpful and useful and valuable that I decided to make a video in the hopes that maybe somebody else stumbles upon it and they feel not so alone and isolated and feeling like, is it just me? Is it just me? Am I the only one that the universe like does not want to hire? Like, frick. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna call this video Job Searching During the Pandemic, the most fun you'll ever have. Not. Okay, so context. I have about 10 years of corporate experience. Whoa! And no video experience, apparently. Oh, struggle busing it. Oh, dang it. How do these video people make it work? Is it gonna work? No. Okay, I'll just keep talking. So, I have about 10 years of corporate experience, and then my company that I was working for, we were growing like crazy cakes. I tell my friends that we were like a Ferrari going down the highway at 100 miles an hour and then just like smacked into a wall, a brick wall, like March 15th ish. And it was, the world was like, turns out there's a pandemic. Okay. So me and my team were put on furlough and in April. And to be honest, I spent the summer having so much fun. So much fun. Because frankly, the government was like giving me stimulus money and paying me not to work. So you know what I did? I didn't work. And it was awesome. No regrets, not even one letter. Bonus points if you know what reference that's from. Anyway, plus I was on furlough, so technically I actually did have a job, so it doesn't make sense to job search. But then as of August, my company had to go through layoffs, and I was part of those company layoffs. So as of, I started job searching in July. July, August, September, and now it's October, so 4 months. And at this point, I've applied to about 350 jobs. So quite a few. Quite a few. I had a few in August that I was like at the end of the interview process with, and those fell apart, and that was kind of a bummer, but it was at the beginning of my job search journey, so I just wasn't really worried about it. And then as fall kicked in, and the weather changing was a factor too, and the lengthening of like, okay, I'm still job searching, oh my gosh, and interview after interview after interview, it gets rough. It gets really rough, and scary, right? Even though logically my brain is like, even when your unemployment runs out, you have 6 months of emergency expenses. And even if that runs out, you have family that you can turn to. even with those logical safety nets in place, there's an emotional reaction to being in survival mode, being rejected constantly, being frustrated and angry, and trying not to be. It just gets really hard. And I was doing okay. Like, I was kind of managing the, like, okay, this is what we need to do, emotional roller coaster, until about 2 weeks ago. So it's end of October. So mid-October, I had 2 jobs that I thought for sure I was going to get both of them. Like, I was like, how do I negotiate my offer? Like, which one do I want, and then who do I negotiate with, and how do I do that? Like, I was convinced I would get them. So one was with a company where I went seven rounds with them, really vibed with the hiring manager. Like, we just really connected and got along well. And a friend of mine is a director at the company and put in a good word for me. Didn't get that job. Like, and I was shocked. Like, I was like, this is a great fit. You guys feel like family already. Like, this is great. And they ultimately ended up picking a different candidate. And I got a really nice note from the hiring manager about what a difficult decision it was to make, which was, like, it soothed my ego, but, like, it doesn't help me get a job. Your girl needs a job. So I didn't get that one. And then the other one, the hiring managers made a mistake and put me on mute while they were talking about me during the interview process. And that could have been a total disaster. They could have been like, this Rachel girl's a bitch. But it wasn't. In fact, they said such nice and encouraging things about me that I literally grabbed a pen and paper and was like writing down their feedback because I was crying at how nice it was. And as soon as I hung up with them, I called my mom to tell her all of the nice things they were saying about me. Rachel's communication skills are amazing. We don't even see this at an executive level. She's a 1 in 100 person. Like, she has everything we're looking for and the differentiators, meaning like communication skills, international experience, like that kind of a thing. So I got to hear all of this positive feedback and I was like, clearly I'm going to get that job, like, duh. 3 days later, rejected. What the fuck? So both of these jobs that I had real reason to think that I was going to get, and get both of them, gonzo. And that's when life started hitting me pretty hard. In addition to that, I have some personal things going on that didn't help. Just didn't help. So my professional life and my personal life are imploding. Awesome. Like, no stress. Not stressed at all. No uncertainty. Everything is clear as day. Yeah, when I lost those two, my emotional roller coaster really started to go off the rails. And I consider myself to be a pretty emotionally stable and mature person. And I was riding the struggle bus. And what that means and what that looks like is crying every day from stress. For reference, I probably cry once a year, once every other year. Like, I'm not really a crier. So for me to be like losing it, that's a big deal. That tells me like things are wrong, things are off, things aren't going well. And I've never been at this level before. Like, there was literally a week where I was crying uncontrollably. Like, I couldn't manage my own emotions. I couldn't suck it up and suck it in and have a polite face. Like, I literally could not do it. I wasn't going to go deep into what that looked like, but I think I'm going to. Basically, what's going on in my personal life is that my housing situation is changing and I don't want it to, and it is, and I have to move. And so I can't come home and recharge. So on top of all of this stress, it's a pandemic, I'm job searching, I'm getting rejected, I'm worried about money, I'm emotional. I can't come here home and recharge because they're selling the house. So there are times when I can't be here. And even when I can come home, I come home and I like want to throw something away and my garbage can isn't there. I want to cook something and I reach for a paper towel and I'm like, no, they're in some random bin in the garage. Like, oh my God, can we not right now? Can we not? And while we were doing they had to show the house, so I couldn't be here. So I went to my mother's place. Sorry, pause, rewind. During all of this stress and uncertainty and inability to emotionally recharge, I got a Facebook message from my mom, and she sent me this article that was like, top 10 money traps to avoid. And I was like, what the fuck? And I clicked on it, and it was like all the things that you already know, right? Like save for retirement, plan for the future, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I went from like super calm to 10 out of 10 pissed. And I wrote my mom back and used the F word like 14 times. And before I hit send, I was like, maybe don't hit send to your mother. So I called her and I FaceTimed her and she saw me and she was like, oh no, what's wrong? Because I was like tearing up and just like red-faced. And I said, Mom, I am enraged and deeply hurt, and I'm gonna need to tell you to tell me why, what in God's name were you thinking of sending me that? And she was like, what are you talking about? I don't know, I like send you random stuff that I think is interesting. Like I didn't connect it to anything, which is true. She does send me like totally random stuff. And I was like, she was like, I don't know, like you're at the end of paying off your student loans, and I just thought that this would be a useful reminder of like what's next and like what the future is. And I was like, okay, thank you so much for that positive intent. I was not in an emotional space where I could even conceive of an emotional intent, because where I went to is, she thinks I'm bad with money. She thinks I'm irresponsible. She thinks I'm a failure. She's rubbing salt in the wound. Like just, and she didn't mean any of that. And I was like, okay. It was pretty thoughtless. Like maybe we need to put a little bit more thought into sending save for the future financial advice to somebody who's literally collecting unemployment and is scared of that running out. Like, maybe we need to think through. But my point is, like, I went super emotional immediately and had to rein it in and like was losing it. And then I went to her house for the weekend because we're selling this place, or they're selling this place. And when I got to her house, I was like, hey, I've got this knot in my shoulder. Would you mind like rubbing it? The minute she touched me, it must have been a stress knot, because the minute she touched me, burst into tears all over again. This is what I mean by uncontrollable crying. I couldn't rein it in. And also while I was at her place that weekend, I took a bath with calming music and with a candle. And while I was in the bath, I was kind of like massaging my legs, and there was so much stress and tension in my legs that I bawled in the bathtub. Just like lost it. And then a few days after that, somebody at the gym asked me like, hey, Rachel, how's it going? And I was like, oh, it's been tough, but okay. And normally I can do that. I can be honest, but like, it's okay. The way I just said it now. But that day, in that moment, I was like, oh, it's hard, but it's okay. like, and burst into tears, burst out crying in front of a stranger, essentially. We know each other kind of, but like acquaintance, in a public place. Like, these are not normal Rachel activities or emotions. And that person was unbelievably kind and took the time to like talk to me. She even prayed over me. She said, and one of the best things she said was like, and thank you, God, for closing the doors on the opportunities that weren't right for Rachel so that you can open up ones that are right. And like the reframing of that, I started crying all over again. I was like, I didn't even think of it that way. That's so nice. It was so nice. And that morning I was like, cool, I got all of the crying out of my system. Nope. 3 other times that day, so 4 times total, I cried uncontrollably at the drop of a hat. So I have to think that if I'm this emotionally mature, professional, stable, I have no idea what other people are doing and going through. Like, to be blunt, like the person at the Quickie Mart or like random people that I'm seeing on the street, I'm like, what if I'm having these issues in private? Like, how are you not freaking out? You probably are, right? You probably are. This is like the deep-seated fear and freak out that we're all having. Okay, so that's what I mean about like, all right, so I was job searching. I had those 2 jobs I for sure was gonna get, didn't get either of them. It turned into this huge emotional bouncing ball of like just pain. And in the midst of it, like a lot of instability in my home life due to the move. And it's made me have a lot of questions around like my value and my worth, at least in the workspace, right? Like, I do think that I'm a valuable human, even if I don't have a job. But it makes you wonder, like, what's wrong? Is it me? Is it just me? Does nobody want to hire me? Do they not think I'm valuable? Am I asking for too much in salary? Do I need to adjust my expectations on salary? And I go back and forth on that question in particular because a contract to hire position popped up and somebody asked me what my 1099 rate would be. And so I crunched some numbers and sent it to them and said, this is my 1099 rate. This, if you hire me, if and when you hire me full time, would kind of be my salary expectations. Is that in line with what you're thinking? And I figured that I was probably maybe a little bit high on my rate. And I was nervous. I was like, oh God, they're not gonna accept me because like I asked for too much. But it's a real number. Like, I took what I was making at my old job and said, this is what I think that equates to on an hourly basis. Open to having a conversation if you think I'm off, but like, this is what I'm thinking. I sent that, and then I had multiple people, networking friends that I chatted with afterwards, who were like, you gave them what number? What number? Rachel, no. Like, you are worth so much more than that. And I was like, oh shit, am I? Like, I think I've just really been in this mode, in this mental space around like, I need a job. Like, I need a job, I need money, I'll take whatever I can get. I'm desperate at this point, right? And I've lost sight of my worth and my value in the marketplace because I'm just so desperate to get a job. Because frankly, if I don't get a job and I lose my current housing situation, I can't get an apartment. You can't get an apartment without a job. like, I'm not going to have anywhere to live. I'm going to, like, literally at this moment, the plan 3 weeks from now is for me to move home with my mother. Which has some really sweet benefits to it. Like, you know, it'd be nice for both of us to have somebody to live with during the winter, during COVID, you know, having your little cohort. But for the most part, I can see those silver linings, but the cloud that those silver linings are in is, oh my God, I'm a failure. I have failed. I'm running home to my mother with my tail between my legs. That doesn't make me feel good. At all. Like, it's hard not to feel that way. So I've been so desperate to get a job that I've been like lowering my salary. And with these people telling me you're worth more, I've kind of taken a step back and looked at the last couple of rejections that I've gotten. And it's not like they ever really tell you why, but I think maybe one of the reasons why is because they're looking for somebody who is an executioner, like they execute on the strategy. And I'm at that level and point in my career where I'm more of the strategic vision, communicate across the enterprise kind of a person. And so they're like, well, we're looking for somebody tactical, but there's Rachel, and she's amazing, and she's great at what she does, but it's not what we need. And so because I've been like lowering my self-worth and my salary, I've been playing in these pools where, of course, they're going to reject me because they're not looking for who or what I am and can do. And so I need to play in a different pool and a different level of salary, and maybe I'll have less rejections there. Maybe. This is a guess as to what might be going on, because I don't know. But then there's also like fear and uncertainty and lack of like, oh my God, what if there aren't any jobs there, and what if they don't want me? Like, because the further you go up in the hierarchy, the less opportunities there are going to be, right? So this pool might actually be like this. It's a small pool. So really just like trying to figure all of those things out. And yeah, I think that's more or less what I shared with my mentee this morning, is this is taking an emotional toll. You need to recharge where and when you can. It's really painful to, I mean, just between you and me, I mean, I'm visualizing moving home with my mom and not having a job and job searching for how long? Like, our companies holding their breath until the election, our companies holding their breath until January 1st when new budgets come out and it's 2021 and magically 2021 is better than 2020. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, I hope so. Are they waiting for April when theoretically a vaccine is supposed to come out? Like, are they holding their breath? Or is it just me? Like, just nobody wants to hire me. That's like an irrational fear, but it's like the emotional like child in me, like, nobody wants me. It sucks. And then weirdly, literally as I was like pressing, right there, pressing to hit record, I got a phone call. And I was like, oh, well, this could be a recruiter. Let me pick up. And it was a recruiter with a job offer. Here I am, ready to record a video about how job searching sucks and it takes forever and blah, blah, blah. And I get a call from a recruiter being like, okay, the universe is ready now. Like, I don't know. Like, and then she told me the offer details, and the salary is literally at the bottom of my salary range. And I'm like, what do you do with that? Like, it's significantly less than I was making before. Significantly. And so I negotiated. Maybe not a great thing to do in the middle of the pandemic, honestly. Like, not a great idea. The rule of thumb that I've always heard about that I do think is true, when you negotiate, in general, a good rule of thumb is like 20% higher than what they said and maybe a couple of extra days of PTO. I didn't negotiate the PTO. I just said, I'm excited about the team. I'm excited about the opportunity, salary, company, everything. I want to be, did I say salary? I want to be excited about the salary too. And she said, well, what is that? Like, what's that number? And I tried to figure out, I was like, well, you say it's a grade 13. What's the salary range for a grade 13? I'm like trying to figure out like how high can I go? And she's like, I don't feel comfortable sharing that. And I was like, valid, because you know exactly what I was trying to do. And so I just took the number that she gave me and added 20% and said, this is the number I'm looking for, which frankly is still on the low end. It's still under what I was being paid before, but it's not like rock bottom, you know? And she was like, oh, I don't know. That is the high end of this grade level. And I was like, okay. So go talk to the hiring manager, go find out. And she's like, well, is there a number that you like have to have? Like, is there, like, what's your lowest number? And I was like, no. Go talk to him. If he says no or comes back with a different number, like, we can discuss it then. She's like, well, do you have any like notes or like anything that I should tell you about the counter offer? I go, really excited about the job, really love the hiring manager, and I'm worth it. I'm worth X plus 20%. I think I said that like 3 times on the phone. I go, I'm worth that money. I do think that I am. And I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't think I'm going to lose the job by asking. So why not ask for it? And after having this revelation this week of like, you've been aiming too low, aim a little higher. Or in this case, my aim, the plus 20% is really like aim mid-range. Like, okay. So yeah, I don't know if that was a smart move. I would say that it wasn't a risky move, right? Because I didn't say, give me this number or else I walk. I said, give me this number because I'm worth it. And if you don't give me that number, let me know what you would be able to offer me, or let me know why, or whatever. Like, I'm going to ask for the max of my grade range. And if not, like, we'll figure it out. It's okay. And if I do lose it, I have the safety of being able to move in with my mom and have the time to find a company that does value me. It's not going to be easy because I'm going to have a lot of emotional roller coasters around job searching, like I already have, like I've already described to you, and around the psychological impact of having to move back in with my mom. But anyway, I think this video has been long enough, don't you? The summary is, I don't have advice to give you. This isn't like a job searching how-to. This is more like a job searching #storytime. And I hope that what you take from this is job searching is an emotional journey, and you have to recognize the ups and downs and let yourself have the downs. So those crying episodes that I was talking about, that's literally stress and cortisol getting out of your body. So like let it go, don't trap it in, because if you trap it in, your body will hold that emotion. It will hold the stress in your muscles. I think there's a book called like The Body Keeps the Score, where it says unreleased emotion is just going to be trapped somewhere in your body. So one, let yourself cry when you need to, preferably in private and not to strangers. Do as I say, not as I do. So yes, let yourself cry is number one. Number two, recognize when you're going through the ups and downs and know that it's normal. And number three, it's going to take some time. It's a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You are worth it. It will come. I want to say it's going to be okay, but I don't know that. I would instead say look to your support system for support, for love and guidance, and those people who you can cry to and can have those ups and downs with and real conversations. I've never been so grateful for the friends that I have, for the kinds of friends that I have, the thick or thin friends. Ride or die. My ride or die friends. And yeah, I don't know where this is going with my journey, but I hope it helps you on yours. That sounds like a good place to end, no? Yeesh. Yeesh. Okay. Love you lots, and send me a note if you need to. Love you. Ciao.